Welcome to Horror Year, where every story is a journey into the unknown. If you're brave enough to face your darkest fears and uncover the most chilling tales, you've come to the right place. So, dim the lights, turn up the volume, and subscribe to Horror Year. Your journey into terror begins now. It was usually Emma who shone bravery. When they were kids, whether there was a storm outside or if the home made an odd sound, Lily, her younger sister, would always cling to her. Now, though, Emma was the one experiencing the first tremors of panic as they stood at the edge of the woods that surrounded their old home. It has been 2 weeks since Lily vanished. Nothing had been discovered by the police, the search teams, or the dogs. Emma refused to give up hope, although everyone else in the community had. She had a gut feeling that Lily was still out there, living. She only needed to locate her. The deep forest was much darker than it should have been at this time of day. The towering trees seemed to press in on Emma as she descended more, their gnarled branches reaching down like skeletal hands. The air was heavy, not misty, but rather heavy, a presence that made breathing seem laborious. When she first heard it, she had been strolling for hours. A quiet voice carried by the breeze, so quiet she almost thought it was the sound of leaves rustling. Emma. Her heart gave a jump. Lily's voice was heard. That was necessary. She started running, disregarding the brambles that scratched her skin and the roots that could have caused her to stumble. The voice called once more, a little more urgent and a little louder. Emma. She lost her breath when she fell to the ground as her foot seized on a root. She was gasping as she lay there when she noticed something odd. All around her, the jungle had become silent. Not a bird, no insects. There was just a heavy silence, like if everything was holding its breath. Emma pushed herself up slowly and froze. A figure stood between the trees a few feet in front of her. It was Lily. Her clothing were tattered and shabby, and her pale face was marred by filth, but it was still her. Emma felt a wave of relief rush through her, but then something seemed off. Lily remained still. Her eyes were lifeless and wide, and she remained motionless with her arms hanging limp at her sides. Emma felt a chill run down her spine because of the hard, strange manner she was standing. "Lily?" Emma shook her voice. Lily's mouth moved, but her words were warped, sounding as though they were coming from a different person. "You ought not to have arrived here." Emma felt a hollow, chilly fear take hold of her chest. With her thoughts racing, she stepped back. This was incorrect. Everything about this was incorrect. Lily suddenly surged forward, her body twitching like a puppet pulled by strings. With a cracking, shifting, and deeper tone, she replied, "You have to leave. It's too late." Emma's legs refused to cooperate with her desire to run. As Lily, or whatever had become of her, approached, fear immobilized her. Emma noticed something move out of the corner of her eye as the shadows beneath the trees appeared to get deeper. Something incredibly tall and thin appeared to be lurking just outside the periphery of her field of view. It was observing her, holding out. Lily lowered her voice to a whisper. "Emma, they took me. They led me into the shadows." Her eyes, which had once been alive, were now lifeless and merely reflected the eerie shadows. Emma dismissed it with a shake of her head. This was not possible. Her sister was not a ghost, nor was she dead. This had to be a nightmare of some sort. However, the entity that was Lily was now in close proximity, to the point where Emma could perceive the faint movement of her lips and the way her fingers quivered, seemingly grasping for something that was not visible. Lily broke into a sob as she continued, "I can't come back. However, they'll also take you. They are awaiting." Emma whirled as she felt a chilly breath on the back of her neck, but nothing was there. Instead, dense blackness was encroaching from all directions. Her sister was gone when she turned to face Lily again. The shadows writhed and twisted in her place, becoming beings with blank, lifeless eyes and long, lanky limbs. Their motions were strange, twitching like shattered marionettes as they slithered in her direction. Emma staggered back, her heart pounding and her head telling her to run, but her legs felt as heavy as lead. The shadowy entities extended their hands towards her, bending and warping as they neared her. A whisper, so faint it might have been mistaken for a wind gust, caressed her ear. "You've been anticipated by us," Emma cried out and bolted. She felt as though the trees were warping about her, their branches curving down like claws as they twisted and contorted. She felt as though the ground was attempting to engulf her completely because it was soft and sinking beneath her feet. The sounds of whispering intensified, with voices mixing and rising to a deafening cacophony. She raced until her legs failed her and she crashed onto the woodland floor, her lungs burning. She was no longer in the woods, though, when she looked up. She was standing in a clearing that she was familiar with from her early years. In the middle was the ancient well, its stone walls eroding with time. Emma had lost track of this location and the warning their mother had given them not to come here. The murmurs had ceased. The oppressive hush was dense. Emma's gaze found its way to the well. She had a gut feeling that this was where it all started. This was the location when Lily was taken. She took her time approaching it, every instinct telling her to go back. She looked over the edge and saw nothing but utter darkness. The air around the well was unusually frigid. Then a hand appeared. Pale and bony, it leaped out of the well and grasped at the edge of the stone. With her heart racing through her throat, Emma staggered backward. One hand raised itself and then another. Lily's face emerged from the shadows, her mouth contorted into a hideous smile, her eyes vacant and wide. "They're famished," she murmured. Even though Emma yelled, it was too late. She was drawn into the darkness as the shadows emerged from the well and enveloped her. Her sister's quiet, eerie voice was the last sound she heard before everything fell silent. "They won't ever let you leave." And that brings us to the end of today's delightful story. I really hope it had you on the edge of your seat. If you liked this story, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. It means a lot to me. And if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. There's always an exciting surprise waiting just around the corner and you won't want to miss it. Do you have a spooky story to share or a fun idea for our next tale? Feel free to share in the comments below. I'm really curious to know what gives you the creeps the most. And as always, take care, keep exploring. And remember, sometimes the most chilling tales are the ones left untold. Catch you in the next one, if you're up for it.